Okay everyone, Watches and Wonders just ended. It's the biggest watch fair of the year, and it's like the Orological Hanukkah because it lasts several days and it's confusing to anyone who doesn't celebrate it. A very happy Watches and Wonders to you. So this is where I give you my thoughts about some of the watches that made their debut during the Holy Week. I'll talk about my favorites, and I'll also hit on some pieces which may not be my favorites but are worth discussing. But to be honest, this video format makes me feel dirty. I'm going to be showing you and judging watches that I haven't seen or tried on. I don't like that. I think the best opinions about timepieces are formed by actually wearing the watch. So I'm basically telling you, don't listen to me. I'm ill-informed and ill-tempered and also just overall ill. And yet, here we go. The Cartier Tank Americain, specifically the large size in steel. I've been a fan of the Tank Americain since the last steel reference debuted in 2017. It's really a gorgeous piece, and kind of functions as an affordable tank cintre. Elongated case, curved, simple. I've always liked seeing the Americain worn informally. I think that's a great look. And my main complaint about the previous Tank Americain has been fixed with this latest watch. The previous Americain was 9.5 millimeters thick, and this new one is 8.6 millimeters thick. Less than a millimeter difference, but that's a 10% difference here. Cartier says the difference is possible because the new watch is using a new movement, the Cartier Caliber 1899 MC. The new version also has a vertically brushed dial, which I think I prefer to the previous Sunray dial. There is no price on these watches yet, and they're not supposed to be available until September. The previous Tank Americain large in steel was around $6,000, so I'm expecting this one to be just under $7,000, which is too much money for a steel watch on a strap with no water resistance, and I might actually buy one. Stop judging me. That's right, this thing. The new Rolex Day-Date watches with the puzzle dials, inspirational words for the days, and 31 emoji for the date. Oh, and precious gemstones for the dial markers. These are the first Day-Date watches to have neither days nor dates. And people hate it, and that's one of the reasons I love it. One of the reasons, but not the only reason. So yes, I'm a bit of a troll, but more than that, I think this is just so strange and unexpected from Rolex. Rolex tends to be very traditional with its designs, very conservative. Rolex watches evolve slowly, and they rarely hint at the real purpose of watches, which is fun. These watches are fun. Even something like a Rainbow Daytona, people take way too seriously. With these crazy watches, these ones, taking them seriously is not even an option. So lighten up everyone, even Rolex is telling you to. Another one from Rolex, the Titanium Yachtmaster, is actually one we've known about and expected for a while. It, or something like it, was spotted months ago on the wrist of some boat guy. I don't know, I'm American, we don't watch sailing, we prefer sports with more concussions. I'm a little concerned about the 42mm size, but I'm very excited about the material. Titanium is 40% lighter than steel and has a darker appearance, and I really like what Rolex has done with the brushing. I'm super happy to see Rolex bringing back the chamfered lugs. This lug detail was common on older Rolex watches, at least up until the mid-90s. It's a small design element that just makes the case so much more interesting. This watch is $14,000 and will probably be unattainable forever. So there's that. The extra thin Chopard Alpine Eagle XPS, this thing is a beauty. I'm really glad to see the Alpine Eagle maturing. This is a new size and a new dial color. The size is 41mm in diameter and only 8mm thick. That's super thin, and it's slimmed down from just 9.7mm, and it still has 100 meters of water resistance. No date, small seconds, and it's using the chronometer LUC 96.40L movement. The steel of the case is made from 85% recycled material, and that's an alloy exclusive to Chopard. That's nice, it's actually really cool, but the watch is on my favorites list entirely because it looks amazing. But it costs $22,500. The Tudor Black Bay now comes in a 37mm option. It's not for me. It's not for most people I know, but I think there's a large unmet market for this watch. The Black Bay 54 is cool. The 39mm Black Bay 58, people just love it. For a lot of collectors, it's nearly perfect. I find it a little boring, but that's fine. I love that people love it. 39mm is such a great size, but not for everyone. I like that people with smaller wrists now have this 37mm option. I especially like that many of those people are women. For example, my wife has a wrist slightly smaller than 6 inches. I don't understand how her hands don't just fall off her arms, but I'm not a doctor. I really like that she and people of her scale can now wear a Black Bay watch. Luckily for me, she's not interested in this watch. Plus, now both the bracelet and the rubber strap options for the Black Bay have the T-Fit clasp adjustment system. This watch isn't fancy or groundbreaking, it just makes sense. Those crazy kids at Oris did something nobody was expecting, probably nobody was asking for, but son of a frog, I think it's great. Oris announced the ProPilot X Kermit Edition. It's all above board with approval from Disney, who owns the rights to the Muppets. That collaboration is a feat on its own. The Oris Kermit uses the same ProPilot X case and movement that we've seen before, but now with the greenest of green dials. Not just any green, but specifically Kermit the Frog's green. And from what it looks like, the rehaut, the kind of angled wall at the edge of the dial, that looks like a slightly darker shade of green, and that looks pretty good to me. On the first of each month, the legendary amphibian makes a smiley appearance in the date window in place of the number 1. The rest of the month you just see boring old numbers. I'm almost embarrassed by how much I like this. It makes me feel just silly happy. Does this watch make sense in an ultra-modern pilot watch? No. Does it make sense for Oris in general? Not really, but do I like it? Yeah. Maybe it is easy being green. And my last favorite watch from Watches and Wonders is another one I won't or couldn't get. The new Cartier Tank Normale. These watches are part of the brand's Privé collection, which tends to be limited and expensive and exclusive, and I really like the 2 tanks with the bracelet options, the platinum and the yellow gold. The Tank Normale design is basically the original tank design from 1919. These new watches are larger than those originals. In fact, they're about the same size as the large Tank Solar Beat, which I own, which is also the same size as the gold Tank Louis. These look so good on their bracelets, and especially for me, I really like how they are brushed and not polished. That's not something we've seen a lot from Cartier when it comes to precious metals, but I think it looks outstanding. The bracelet references are limited to 100 each, and there is no price announced for them, or more likely, Cartier knows that if you have to ask for the price, you can't afford them. And now a lightning round of watches that aren't my favorites from the week, but I think are worth mentioning. Zenith has redesigned its Pilot line, and they are very interesting. The case shape is beefy, and it's really grown on me in just the few days of seeing photos of it. My favorite is the Big Pilot Date Flyback in steel. The 3 o'clock register has colors which are a callback to the Zenith Rainbow Flyback watches. I see you, Zenith. $11,500? That's tough for me, though. And speaking of chronographs, Grand Seiko produced their first ever mechanical chronograph. How is that possible? Grand Seiko has existed for 63 years, and this is their first mechanical chronograph? It's called the Tentagraph, and if you know how to parse the name, it'll help you understand the watch. 10 is 10 ticks per second, the T is for titanium, the A is for automatic, and graph? Who knows what it means? It's one of life's great mysteries. And finally, the IWC Ingenieur. It seems like for so long I'd been hoping for a new Ingenieur. Every night I lit a candle in front of my shrine to Gerald Genta, and I would pray for a new integrated bracelet watch from IWC. And this year, St. Genta answered my prayers. Or did he? The design looks great, the proportions look great, great movement too, but starting at $11,700, that's about $3,000 more than I would have expected. Maybe it's time to light more candles. And that's all for now. Those are the new watches that caught my attention during the Holy Week. But something does happen to me nearly every year. When I finally get some of these new watches on my wrist, my feelings about them do change. So like I said at the beginning, that's why I don't like to make snap judgment videos like this, or at least you should know that my opinions are uninformed, uneducated, and often ungood. Merry watches and wonders to all, and to all a good night.